out here in the country, that's a neighbor. I'm really excited. I'm gonna channel Carlos's and Mindy's energy. I'm really excited to talk about lavender. And I love in doTERRA when people share their experiences with the products. But sometimes I think, well, I just love it when you have research with a lot of people, so you have really good evidence for some things. And so anyway, I'm going to talk about some research that I have looked into recently with lavender, encapsulated lavender essential oil for anxiolytic and antidepressant effects. So the studies that I'm going to share with you, they are not doTERRA products. And so maybe for some of you that's good, because then there's no doTERRA bias. But this is a lavender encapsulated essential oil that is standardized for linalool and linalool acetate. And I just want to explain to you, I was told that there was new people on here like me. I am a certified nutritionist, but in doTERRA, I am a director. So I'm a newbie, like maybe some of you out there are. So I wanted to explain to you, a lot of you probably know this, but how doTERRA's products are standardized. So when the crop comes in to the distillery, say the lavender plants are coming into the distillery to get distilled, they test them. And then when they come through the distillery, they test them again. And there's 8 different tests that they do. They want to make sure that what came to the distillery is the same thing that came out, because we know that there's a lot of cheating that goes on in the essential oil industry. And then they are tested again when they are bottled. And one of the tests, or a couple of tests that they do, which you've heard this a lot in at the convention, is gas chromatography, mass spectrometry. And what that means is the lavender essential oil is going to be split up into all of its different constituents, and then they find out what's in there and how much of those things are in there. And then you can take your bottle of lavender. Here's a bottle of my lavender, and on the bottom is the lot number. So every batch has a lot number. And then all of the testing is done by a third party. It's not done by doTERRA, but you can go to a website that's sourcetonyou.com, and you can put in your lot number for any of your essential oils. So I typed in for that bottle of lavender, and here it comes up. There's my batch number. And then you can click on the download test result PDF, and you can actually see the chromatogram. So this is what you get after the gas chromatography is done. It's like a fingerprint. And so you can see for lavender, the 2 really long lines, that's showing the linalool and the linalool acetate. Those are like I said, the constituents that there's the most of in lavender. And then you can see all the little lines. Those are all the other constituents. And then there's another page that names all of them and tells you what the amounts are. So doTERRA, once this is done, then they're going to compare this batch with a standard. And the standard is a really pure sample of lavender. And if it does not match up with those constituents, then they pitch the batch. So you and I can always be confident that we have a pure product that doesn't have bad stuff in it that's going to hurt our health, but it has the good stuff in it that is going to give us the health benefit. Okay, so that being said, let's look at some research here, and we're going to talk about anxiety. So a lot of us experience chronic stress and anxiety. And in one study they did, it was over 60% of Americans say that they experience chronic stress or anxiety. And it affects people's bodies in different ways. It can, from one individual to another, people are going to have different symptoms from them. But 72% of people who have daily stress and anxiety say that it interferes with their lives, at least moderately. And 30% of people that feel that they have chronic stress, they take a medication for it. Now, the typical medications that are used for anxiety are benzodiazepines, and then also SSRIs. That stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And an example of that would be Prozac. Now, these medications do have some side effects that are not desirable. Some of them take a long time to work. They can take 4 to 6 weeks to begin to work. Some have really bad withdrawal effects. They can cause drowsiness and sedation, sleep disturbances, restlessness, and then there is the potential for abuse with especially the benzodiazepines. And doctors are really good at putting patients on anti-anxiety drugs, but are really bad at taking them off. And many times when somebody tries to go off one of these medications, they have such severe withdrawal effects that they and their doctor think that, oh, hey, your anxiety symptoms are coming back, so therefore we know that you need this medication, when in fact it's just withdrawal effects. So if anybody is on any of these medications and you ever are thinking about going off of them, you need to talk to your doctor. But one practitioner that I know, she has her patients decrease 10%. That's it, just 10% for 2 weeks. And if they feel comfortable, then they'll go down lower. But if they have any discomfort from going down that much, she has them go back up and go down even slower. That's how hard sometimes it is to get off of them. Okay, so here we can read about lorazepam, which is a benzodiazepine. And this lists some of the symptoms from going off of them: seizures, trouble sleeping, mental mood changes, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, loss of appetite, stomach pain, hallucinations. You can read the rest. So as we can see, these can be really serious and difficult to get off of. Lavender is not that way. Okay, the first study that we're gonna look at is encapsulated lavender essential oil compared to lorazepam, which is a benzodiazepine. So this was a 6-week study that was done with under 80 people, and they all had generalized anxiety disorder. So it was randomized and double blind, and they gave the first group a capsule of 80 milligrams of lavender, and then they gave them a capsule of a placebo of lorazepam. So it's a fake lorazepam, like a sugar pill. And then in the second group, they gave a 0.5 milligram dose of lorazepam and then 1 capsule of a lavender placebo. The study was done for 6 weeks, and at the end of the 6 weeks, they had a 2-week discontinuation phase where they weaned everybody off the medications because they also wanted to study the withdrawal effects. And then they used what's called a HAMA score in order to rate everybody's anxiety. And that is just, it measures the anxiety and the severity of it. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you here a graph, and you can see the top line coming down, that's purple with the circle. That is the encapsulated lavender essential oil, standardized. And so on the bottom line, it's showing time going by, and then the y-axis, or the one that's going up and down, then that is the severity of anxiety. So the higher up it is, there's more anxiety. So they start off with more anxiety, and you can see how it comes down over time. The bottom line, the black line, that is the conventional treatment, or the lorazepam. So you can see that lavender essential oil did just as well as lorazepam, but it was very well tolerated, and there was no withdrawal effects, which there were with the lorazepam. Lorazepam also has can make people feel sedated. And one of the side effects of the lavender essential oil is that it helped people sleep better, but without feeling sedated. Okay, this next study is they compared lavender essential oil with paroxetine, which is an SSRI, and that again is in the same class as Prozac. So this one was a 10-week study, and this was actually a pretty big study for a natural substance. You don't see studies this big typically. There was over 500 people in it, and once again, they had generalized anxiety disorder and insomnia. And there were 4 groups in this study. So there was one group taking 80 milligrams of lavender oil, one taking 160 milligrams of a lavender essential oil, and then a group taking paroxetine, or it's Paxil, is the other name for the brand name. And then the last group was a placebo group. And so they did 10-week study with a 1-week discontinuation phase to down titrate the medication. And what they found was, so now you've got 4 lines to look at. So look at the top line, that's the yellow line, that's the placebo. And then the next line down is the Paxil, or the SSRI medication. The next line down is the lower dose of lavender, and then the last line is the higher dose of lavender, 160 milligrams. And you can see that in that lavender group, the 160 milligrams, it did the best. You can see that the anxiety comes way down. It performed better than the SSRI. So some of the other side effects of the lavender, like I said before, is the people in the group also slept better, because these people also were experiencing insomnia, which is very common with anxiety. Another Another issue that is very common with anxiety is depression, and they found that the lavender decreased depression in this group as well. The only negative side effect was that there was lavender burping, and I could think of worse things to burp, and some GI discomfort, but that improved over time. And then they found that even people that did not have anxiety slept better on the lavender. Now, the SSRIs took a long time to work, and with the lavender essential oil with the higher dose, they saw improvement in 2 weeks and then very significant improvement in 4 weeks. And with the lower dose of lavender, the significant improvements took 6 weeks. There was no withdrawal side effects and no sexual dysfunction. SSRIs are notorious for putting people's libidos in the toilet, which is very difficult for marriages. So there was none of that with lavender. No sedation, and then no interference with how the liver clears other medications. And then also they found that lavender did not interfere with birth control. Now this is important because a lot of young women experience anxiety, and a lot of young women are on birth control. So it would not interfere or make the birth control less effective. Okay, the last slide I'm going to show is how lavender works. So these two pictures, can I point or can I not point? It's okay. It's okay. I'll just explain. That's okay. Okay, so that first little blue thing on the left is a nerve. And then the blue thing on the right is another nerve. And you'll notice that nerves don't actually touch together. They have a space in between them. And so the way they communicate is they let little chemicals come out of the first nerve, and then they travel across that space, which is called a synaptic cleft, to the next nerve. And when enough of that chemical gets across and it reaches a threshold, that next nerve fires and sends the electrical impulse down that nerve. Okay, so this is how messages are spread throughout the body. So the medications like lorazepam and the SSRIs, they work in the synaptic cleft with those neurotransmitters. Now, lavender they found works differently. So you'll see up on the top of the nerve on the left that there is a voltage-dependent calcium channel. So the way that the nerves fire is that channel opens up and calcium ions travel into the nerve. And then it makes the neurotransmitters, so those little chemicals, go across the synaptic cleft and then make the next nerve fire. Well, with people with anxiety, you can have a lot of overactivity with the voltage-dependent calcium channels. And so you have this rapid firing. And so people's brains are going too fast and they're feeling very anxious and having racing thoughts and all the other symptoms that come with anxiety. So what lavender does is it kind of calms that process down with the calcium channels. All right, so doTERRA has some really fantastic products that have lavender in it. So on the left, we've got Serenity, and Serenity is fantastic. I think Jessica told me about it like 1.5 years ago, and I didn't really listen to her, but started using it more recently after I learned all this fantastic stuff about lavender. But one soft gel has 80 milligrams of lavender oil, and that's the same dose in the study as the lower dose. So if you take 2, then you've got the upper dose, which is the 160 milligrams. And so just like the study showed us, they work better over time. And I have started using them. I have Hashimoto's, like one of the other gals who shared. And so I sometimes get insomnia with that. And the Serenity has been just a godsend for me for that. And I've been sleeping deeply and sleeping all night and not waking up and being able to fall asleep well. And there are some other essential oils in there. And so some people don't like taking Serenity during the day because it may make you feel too calm, but you can kind of play with it and see. And if you don't like taking it during the day, then you can take it at night. And then in the middle, we have the Adaptive, the calming blend. And so one soft gel has a total of 80 milligrams, but of all the essential oils, I could not fish out how much exactly lavender there is in there, but there's some, but it is a mastermind of a product to combine different substances that will help with anxiety and to help the brain and the mind feel calm. And then if you don't want all the other things, of course, you can just take the lavender oil, but you need to put it in a capsule because Dr. Osgothorpe, he taught us that it's sensitive to stomach acid. And so stomach acid can really break it down. And so you can just put it yourself into a capsule and swallow it. And so 1 drop is 60 milligrams, 2 drops of lavender oil is 120, and 3 drops is 180. And anyway, that's all I've got for you. Thanks so much. This is super fun.
I love it.
Jessica, take her seat back.